different things in here, so we actually machine ours out of steel, so it's, we know that it's more solid, it's more substantial, and will work better.
You have videos to do that?
The video should be posted by the end of in 2 weeks. They're working on the video.
For this repair.
And that's just for the LF1 and 2? That's just for the LF2 or also the other?
It works for the LF1 and the LF2. And if you're replacing the, I think it's if you're replacing the, let's see, I think it's the gas spring, the template to, they have to, because you'll have to re-drill some holes in the arm. The template is printed right on the box. So just cut this out, you can lay it right on top of the arm. It's a full-size template, and it's, you get all your drill holes. One thing to keep in mind if you're ordering these, there's 2 different versions. There's a track and ceiling light version, and there's a post mount version. Post mount's 90% of the business. And as, so you know, Pelton Crane has discontinued the LF2 line and the LF3s. Is there like a $5 jar or a charge for? So let's take a couple minutes. Are any questions on this? You know, one other quick thing, just as we're talking about changes. You know, we this is our mid-mark sterilizer gasket. And we, I don't know if you remember this or dealt with this long, but you know, we brought it out, pulled it back off the market. We weren't happy with it. We're manufacturing this at the largest manufacturer of sterilizer gaskets in the world through an Italian company. And they make the very best products out there. They make them for 90% of most of the sterilizers, probably outside the U.S. These guys are very, very good. Their consistency and quality is very good. And since we started using this new version and relaunched it, we've had very few problems with it. But one of the problems, as we talked to technicians, we're like, you know what, please package it different. You know, what other manufacturers do is they get a bubble bag and they throw it in there, and then you throw it in the back of your truck, and then, you know, lo and behold, you get a card in there and a box sitting on top of it, and once you put a crease in this, it's all over. So let's put it in a box, put a little window in there so you can see what's inside. So just having it in a box makes a big difference. You know, have it printed on the side so you can stack it in your van in an organized way and see what it is.
Is that your M9?
What's that?
M9? What's it retail for in your book? Is that an M9 you're having?
This is the M11.
M11?
I bid on all the prices.
If we've got it in that box.
95.
95?
Is that retail?
If we've got it in that box, is that one of the new ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think we pulled all.
What time frame was that?
2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, before it had only the plastic package. That's like that.
Yeah. And I think, if I remember right, all of our sterilizers now have switched over to this new packaging. All right, so let's talk about power optic systems.
Hey Jason, any plans on making Cycan gas?
They are, let's see, they're really, really close. We just, I think they just ran the first production run. We've been working on, this has been a 1.5 year project just trying to do Cycan. They're really, really hard to make. But we've got, they just finished testing on the last batch and they're working perfectly. So they're running their first production run. So I would guess another couple of months we should be in.
Are they going to be green?
What's that?
Are they going to be green?
I believe so.
Green.
That's
Is it the
color.
same type of silicone rubber? Is it the same substance as the Cycan ones?
If you touch it, you can't tell the difference.
Okay. Because the black ones.
No. Yeah. No, it'll look exactly like a suit.
And also the lubrication for the gasket. Lubrication for the gasket to letting the seeds like groove. I hope it should be like Cycan ADE.
Will it have the little vial of oil in it?
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah. You won't. Well, the packaging is identical. Or, you know, it'll be in our packaging, but all of the contents will have the oil, the lubricant, the instructions.
Will you have all 14 languages like Cycan is?
On the website. Yeah.
you need that.
That's it.
You need
I
that.
need the Polish. I need the Polish.
If you go to our website in our syringe section, there's syringe instructions in every language that you could possibly imagine.
You can Google.
Seems so stupid.
Google, you can
You
translate
know,
everything.
my wife made me buy all this IKEA stuff, and I hated putting it together. But we got done, and I said, you know, these are the kind of instructions we need.
Yeah,
You know, no words, arrows, you know, let's make it so simple you can't screw it up. So, power optic systems, you know, traditionally we've bought our systems from Kinetics. I think Kinetics sent the letter out to everybody when we ended our relationship with them. Honestly, we've not had a lot of luck traditionally with the quality. And so we felt that, you know, this 2 years ago we started this project, that we needed our own system that we designed from the ground up. And so we've had electrical engineers that we brought on board, a lot of people working on this. And the system that we have brought to market, I think hands down is the best system. It's the most flexible, has the most options. It will work in any environment, any situation, any type of delivery unit. And it's very simple to install and very simple to program and to put in place. So I'll start with just the real simple. Everybody remembers our little black ones that were like this, that run a single handpiece. One change that we made to ours is that it has a voltage regulator built into it now. So if you're putting in that cable handpiece, or you're putting in the star handpiece, you need something up around 5.5 or down around 2.8 volts, now you can adjust that for a single handpiece system.
What's the part number on that?
8404.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
I've seen a couple of those.
They seem to be working really well, and I'll pass these around. They're really well made. It's, you know, it's just one of those things
Yeah,
when
it really looks different than that.
when we're going to make something, we want it to be a quality product. But these are really simple. You're going to wire them up to your handpiece. You're going to hook the barb up to your. Let's see. You're going to hook it up to your drive air line, and it's that simple. So there's not a lot to those, very simple. Our other systems are a little bit more complicated, but they offer a lot of great solutions. And let me get a couple of these more as well. You look on these, you know, one of the differences, you know, we're probably the leader in manufacturing control blocks. Our tri-block is probably the most reliable tri-block on the market, and we sell them to just about every manufacturer. So as we were going through this, we tried to use some of the technology that we're good at as we made this. So you'll see that the bottom of this is made out of metal. So what we've done is we use the same kind of diaphragm system that we use on our tri-blocks here, but we use it only to activate the switches inside of there. So we use that same kind of mentality, but you know, this is made out of metal, not some cheap plastic. There's a lot of dials and a lot of barbs and different things coming out of here. We'll go through some of these, and then if my contraption over here actually works, I'll go through how to hook it up as well. These are simple. You're going to hook up your handpiece wires into these three spots. You're going to hook up this from your handpiece holder, and this is one of the differences between what we've done in the past and what we're doing now. So these are going to hook up to your handpiece holders. These are your voltage regulation dials. This is your main signal input. This is generally going to be hooked up to your foot control. We've got our power in. And then last but not least, up on the top, there's a program selector. I'll go through some of the intricacies of all of those. So let's see, so we're stop at 11:30, is that right? Just want to make sure I'm leaving enough time.
Yeah, it's 11:45.
11:45?
It's 11:45 now.
Oh, what time do we end? 12:15?
15, right?
Okay, so I got a half hour. All right. So, so let's move on since we're getting close. Okay, so we go back to the voltage settings. They're on the front, and this is one of the differences. Oops. Differences in the product. Our voltage output has 0 to 9, so there's 10 different settings on it. What we did, instead of you having to get your voltmeter out every time to be able to set the voltage to where you want it to, all those voltages are preset. So when you get the box, there'll be the sticker, if it's not in there now, it's coming. There'll be a little sticker that you can peel off and stick in the doctor's control head, so you always have that list of voltages listed there. But all you do is you look and see, okay, it's a cable handpiece, it operates at, what voltage? Anybody know? 5.5. 5.5 is setting number 9. Turn it to number 9, you have your 5.5 volts. And those are measured at the end of the handpiece. So we try to make it much easier. So you'll have this little list, that'll come with it, of all of the different settings and the voltages that correspond to it. So we're trying to make it a little easier. Don't have to bring your meter in with you when you go to install it.
All right.
The other area of this that's a little different is our program section. And there's 2 different groups on the program. It's the dial that's up in the top left-hand corner of the system. The first group of those is for pressure dropping, and I'll explain that a little bit more. The second group is for pressure rising, and this is what's going to activate the system. This is what's going to tell it which handpiece is active at the time, and I'll explain this a little bit more here. So everybody's familiar with, probably have seen the DCI and most of the other manufacturers, their valves inside their handpiece holders. Does anybody know where the one on the left is from?
ADEC.
ADEC, right. With ours, once you put the handpiece in the holder, it sends air from the holder back to the control block and it puts pressure on the top of the diaphragm. That shuts off the handpiece. So it's actively putting pressure on the diaphragm. When you pick it up, you have that little hiss of noise, and then you know that it's relieved that pressure. Now the pressure's come off the top of the diaphragm and it allows air and water to move past it. With ADEC, what they do is this will stick into their handpiece holder. This little rod is going to go up into the holder. So when their little arm that's in their holder comes down and pushes on it, all it's doing is tilting this stem a little bit. And what it'll do is it's actually going to start bleeding air past that stem. So when it is in the holder, make sure I got this right. When it's in the holder, it's letting air off. When it's out of the holder, it seals it off, builds up back pressure, and it allows the system to turn on. So those are the 2 different type systems. So pressure rising, as soon as they pick it up out of the holder, this valve seals off and the pressure rises, and that's how you know which handpiece to use. With ours, as soon as you pick it up, exhaust and the pressure drops. Make sense? So if we go back to the slide before, so pressure rising, which would generally be our handpieces, pressure dropping is DCI type of systems. If you set it to 0, it's going to be, the light is going to come on instantly when you pick it up out of the holder. So as soon as you pick it up, the light's going to come on, it's going to stay on. It's not going to turn off until you hang it back up. Great for LEDs. Doctor has an LED light and says, hey, I want light all the time, I've got an LED. Turn the dial to 0, as soon as they pick that handpiece up, boom, light's on and stays on. Number 1 is going to be pick up. As soon as you pick it up out of the holder, the light comes on. It's going to come on for 7 seconds. The light will go off after 7 seconds, and as soon as you step on the foot control, the light will come back on again. You let off on the foot control, it goes off for 7 seconds. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We also have, you can pick it up, the light stays off. When you step on the foot control, there's a 20-second delay, and it repeats. Pick up off, 7-second delay. So there's a couple of different functions, and you can read through these a little bit more detail of how they work. But a lot of doctors like to have, when they pick up that handpiece and they're going to the oral cavity, they pick it up and they get here, and they've got to tap their foot control to get the light on. Well, that's not it. You don't want to tap the foot control, the burr spins, water and air spits out of it. So by having it come on when they pick it up out of the holder, they've got light for a period of time that they can look and get themselves set and then go to work. So you can find a lot of doctors like to have that flexibility and that option. So you've got the inverse settings for the pressure rising, so for an ADAC system. So ADAC, a lot of the companies that do pinch valves, say like Promo Royal, Midmark, some of those, they use a pressure rising system because it's a pinch valve. So you just got to kind of understand the system and get in there and take a look at it. There's more information on our website about specific companies and which one to use. But this is one of the features of this system that no other system in the market has. So I was going to try to do a little demo and actually put one together, but number one, I'm not very good at putting things together. Number two, my camera only works about 20% of the time. So we'll walk through some of this. So here's a pressure dropping mode. What I'm going to do, I'm going to connect to the line that goes from the holder. This is like say a DCI unit. The line that goes from the holder back to the block, to the top of the block. Okay, because that's going to be the activation. So when you pick that up out of the holder, you want to tee into that line. So when you pick it up, it's going to send air. It's going to say, okay, handpiece number 1 is active. Turn the light on for 7 seconds or 20 seconds. And then you're going to plumb the side barb to your foot control or to your drive air line, one of the two. Either one's, they're both going to signal at the same time. So what that's going to do, that's what's going to turn it on and off as you step on the foot control. So that's kind of typically, whether it's our single position or most of the other systems out there, they're all just going to tee into the foot control drive air. And they're just going to have that light whenever they step on the foot control. But by doing it this way and teeing your holders into there, that's going to give you the signal to say which handpiece to make active and turn that light on for 7 or 20 seconds. Stepping on the foot control is going to make it stay on when you're working. Does all that make sense? On the other version, similar to, say, an ADAC unit, you're going to go to the distribution block, which is generally the control block, and you're going to type into the handpiece drive air line. So you'll tie into that. That is going to signal which position to use, and then you're going to tie into the foot control drive air. That's going to tell it to turn on as they're using it. So it's a little bit more confusing. There's a lot more things that it can do. But for the price being the exact same as the old one, this is twice the functionality. I believe it has twice the quality, and it's manufactured by us and not somebody else. And I think you guys will be really happy with it. Any questions on power optics? All right. So let's take some time.
Oh, sorry, I do have a question. What's the best way to get the power line from the transformer through the umbilical into the box, into the delivery in the box?
That's a good question.
Thanks.
If you're installing a good company like DCI, they generally are going to run an 8-wire low voltage bundle.
Right, ADEC does that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just tie into that. If they don't,
You have to pull it down, and there is no other way.
There
is no other way.
Not a lot of other good
Yeah,
options.
or you have to go outside.
Find an 1/8" tube and tie
Right.
another 1/8" tube off to it and just pull it through.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of.
that sucks.
I had to put an extension to that
You could run it all externally if the
power
doctor
cord
lets you.
and just kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk
I
about
hate that
lights.
answer.
So DCI, we started this project 2 years ago to design a cherry unit light. We've we're really close. This light will launch in the next probably 3 to 6 weeks. We'll be in we're in production now, and we'll have stock and be ready to, we'll start to let you guys know and get you all the information, literature on it. But this is a very nice light. Uses a lot of different technologies that are really well proven, but also is integrating the LED functionality to that. Just another quick picture. So the differences between a halogen and LED, obviously, the amount of energy consumption is tremendously different. This uses a single LED, so it uses even less power than most of the other. You look at ADEC, Midmark, even Pelton Crane uses, even though they use reflective technology, they have a bank of 16, I think, LED lights, LED bulbs. And so we use one single cluster of LEDs. So we have the very least amount of energy consumption of any other LED that's on the market. You know, it's cool. I don't know, has anybody made the mistake of turning off a dental light and touching a reflector? You know, they'll take your skin off. I guarantee kids have. You know, playing around in the operatory when somebody's not looking, and think how many kids have burned their tips of their fingers grabbing that light.
Not only
Staff.
everybody.
Right, yeah. Even I have burnt my finger, and I know that it's hot, so. Lifespan typically is 30,000 hours of use, compared to a year or two for a halogen light, and that's, I think, very generous. Cost savings, you know, there's LED technology has come a long ways, and I don't know if the other manufacturers are charging higher prices because it's LED and they think that they can. We don't have an incandescent light, so we just figured we charge a low price for the LED. Consistent light output, even more so that incandescent bulbs over time start to fail. Incandescent lights, because they use a reflector like this, there's a tremendous amount of heat going through this reflector. You'll see, I'm sure you guys have seen this, like old LF1 lights, older lights will actually, you can still be holes in the back where the light has just burned itself all the way through. That won't happen with an LED. And you're able to get a really good, crisp, tight pattern with the light.
Oh, what is the luminescent, the light source? Luminescent, is it 800 all over?
What's the rating? What's the rating?
No, the ratings?
Yeah.
I'll get into that in a second. So let's talk just for a minute about reflective technology compared to spotlights. Besides DCI, Pelton Crane's the only other company on the market. I think Plan Mecca has one, but I don't think they're selling it here in the US, that uses reflective technology. And reflective technology is what every manufacturer has used for the past 40 years. And basically you got a reflector, and if you, I'll pass this around, but if you look at this, this is a Pelton Crane LF2 or 3 reflector. And this is probably one of the highest quality manufactured reflectors that have ever been made. If you look, there's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of little mirrors inside of there. And what those mirrors do is they're redirecting light back to their old cavity, but it's crossing the light patterns. So where you have a spotlight that's shooting down into the oral cavity, what this is doing is taking all of that light in and reflecting it down and crossing itself to be at a focal point of 27 inches. Okay? And so, I mean, those are made by lasers and computers, and they're really, it's a very expensive reflector. Don't break it. So that's the real difference, is the reflector is taking that light in from the light source and focusing it back down on that oral cavity. Gives you a much better light pattern, but what it really does is eliminates shadowing, and I'll show you that here in a second. You talked about the light quality.
Right.
5,000 Kelvin is, the best way to describe it is it's the noonday sun in the northern hemisphere. This is the way I've always tried to sell lights. 5,000 Kelvin is if you take your patient up to the window, which a lot of doctors do when they're checking color matching on the teeth, and they'll get them out there and they'll be looking at, I want the sunshine to be able to really look at it. That's 5,000 Kelvin. So what we're trying to do is mimic the noonday sun in the northern hemisphere, which is a very neutral white light. You know, afternoon sun is more yellow, the morning sun is a little bit different, but 5,000 Kelvin is the magic number. And so our light operates at, I think it's plus or minus a little bit, but great for color matching as well as tissue rendition. Which a lot of times if you have a light that is too low in Kelvin, say there's the old Pelton Crane before I owned the company, their light operated down around 4,000. So they had a much yellower light. And so what it did was it washed out a lot of the tissue. So if doctor's trying to diagnose any tissue issues inside the mouth, that light would wash it out. So 5,000 Kelvin really gives you a good clean light. It's great for color matching, and it's great for being able to analyze that tissue that you're taking a look at. Okay? And then with light patterns, it's always important to have, you know, a very tight pattern in the middle. A lot of times you want to have them feathered on the outside so you're not getting the light in the patient's eyes, which this light does a good job of. Couple of things I want to point out on the light as we get more into this. You know, this is an example of the way we try to do things. You know, this is all metal. This is plastic cover. This is all metal up here. These are metal handles. The whole bottom structure of this light is metal. Of course, we have plastic on the back, and there's a couple of plastic covers and different things.
Lever handle also metal, right? The lever handle.
This is metal. Yes.
Metal, okay.
Yeah, so we really tried to make sure that we were building quality into it. It has 3 axes of rotation. The LED module is actually right here behind here, and I hope this will light up the DCI. Sorry. So we've got the DCI lit up back there. That was kind of fun. But if you look at this, you can see all of the little reflectors inside of there. And that's doing the same thing. We don't use quite as many as Pelton Crane did, but it uses the same idea as trying to mix and match all of those images so that it's nice and clean. So if I rotate, I think this is close to 27 inches. Apologize, guys. So it's a very consistent light pattern. Shaded up at the top, but the center area of the light is very consistent all the way around. But the other great thing about reflective technology is that I'm a doctor and I've got a big head, and if I start putting my head into the middle of this, I can block out half the light before I start to see any kind of change. You can actually borrow this. I can block out half the light on either side, and I still have the same pattern, and basically the same light intensity as I had before.
That's great.
And that's what the reflective technology will do. If you go up and have a spotlight with 3 going across, and you cover the outside 2 up, you're not going to have hardly any light left.
So 4 of those on Monday.
Right. So this is the beauty of reflective technology.
I got some
So, you know, that's probably the biggest selling point when you're talking to a doctor. You know, when I promote this to doctors that are pulling out a traditional light that they've had, or there's an ADAC or somebody else, I say, listen, doctor, don't you want this